15 years ago, Gouryella started. It was a collaboration between Tiësto and myself. The minute we sat down, it was already like a sound that came out of it that was already quite magical. We did 3 tracks together, and then we both went our separate ways. I did one more after that with the involvement of John Eubank, who's a Dutch composer. And then I gave it a break. My musical taste changed until last year. I'm always very intrigued by the bigger questions, very plain and simple. Why are we here? Where do we come from? It's always a question that remains unanswered. No one has the answer to, and who created us? Because we're very creative people. We're engineers, but who did that to us? Who made us? And everybody has their own answer to it, but no one can prove that is the right answer. And that mystery to it was also the inspiration of the whole show. I mean, the names of the tracks, Gouryella meaning heaven, and Anahera meaning angel, and all the other tracks, they're sort of like related to angel, heaven, something like that. So that it has already like a mystical thing. Plus, I think trance is something that brings that out in you. It's calling for something to think about more than just the straight banging tracks out there. So when Anahera came out, all of a sudden I got all these requests from big promoters around the world. Okay, it's great that it's back again. It's amazing, our fans are freaking out. Are you doing a show with it? And I didn't really want to do a show. Because, like I said, the more you touch something that is, in my eyes, perfect, the bigger the chances are that you ruin it, that you ruin it. So, but then, at the same time, I wanted to bring this sound out again to a wider audience. So what better to do it than, when you get the opportunity to use the opportunity and play these big festivals with a show. So, yeah, again, I just had to sit down and just really think like, okay, what is not out there yet and what is missing today? And in my opinion, that was a show that had a bit of meaning to it. And that's why we did it the way we did it.
Everybody knows about the big era of trance, 99, 2000, 2001. A lot of people consider that as the golden age of trance, and I agree. And Gouryella was one of the tracks that actually made that era.
It was part of like that whole movement back then, with that big sort of synth-focused melody, big soul synth, super soul sound. That was basically the blueprint for what came after.
I remember the first time I heard Gouryella, I was living in London, and on the radio it was lots of commercial music and everything, and then the Gouryella music came on the radio. Just stop doing your tracks because it was like it stood out, and here was radio supporting it as well, because even the radio was blown away by the sound. And I remember you would go to parties, and it didn't matter what kind of music was played at these parties. Gouryella was also played.
I suppose one of the things that we had in our mind when we were starting Above and Beyond, artists like Gouryella and Ferry Corsten and Matt Darey, those things that they were doing in their production, the process and the arrangement of that record had a huge influence on me, certainly.
The first time we heard the Gouryella track was, remember back then when we still went to the record store, like a lot of DJs were meeting there, and then
basically fighting for the vinyl, and this is one of the tunes that got on the player, and then right away basically like there was room for 10 people, there were in 20, and all 20 were over the record players.
Yeah, I vividly remember Gouryella being released. I actually have the promo somewhere. I remember the track was so long that it went almost to the end of the middle of the vinyl, because it's a really long track.
It was like, oh, this is what the music I really love. Mm-hmm. It was immediately.
Actually, I heard it in a club first, and then I had to find out what that track was.
It was a progressive movement from a real melodic trance. Records that were 8-9 minutes long.
They always give you like the white labels, the very upfront stuff. They always keep it aside for me. And one of them was Gouryella. I was like, wow, what's this? That's ridiculous. I was like, thank you for this.
Well, yeah, at the time, I was just making music. I wasn't really thinking about what Gouryella would do or what System F would do. There was certainly no Ferry Corsten yet, because I was just releasing stuff under different names. But the response of my little crew around me when the vinyl came in, which I was releasing on my record label at the time, Tsunami Records. I was actually at the record store where I usually would buy my records. It was always like a small crew hanging out there. Tiësto, myself, Rank 1 was hanging out there, and a bunch of other trance guys. And when that vinyl came in, everyone was just like, okay, here it is, let's listen. There's one thing to listen to the recording fresh out of the studio, and when you actually listen to it on vinyl, it's one of those magic moments. And it was a great moment to hear it off vinyl. when you can touch the music. And I believe like the weekend after that, I think Tiësto had to play at one of the big events here. I believe it was in a city, where he tested the track, and I was there too. For me, it was just to listen to that sound for the first time, in front of like 10,000-15,000 people. Yeah, that's just still today. When I make a track today and I hear it for the first time for such a big audience, it's amazing. But back then, it was just something different. Yeah.
When we were doing some of the New World Punx shows, Ferry would show me some of the ideas and some of the tracks that he was working on for the Gouryella show, and I really knew that Ferry was on to something special. And I remember, Ferry and I tour a lot, and he's done a lot of the Gouryella shows, so I've been very fortunate to see a lot of them. And I think for me, the most amazing part of it is sometimes I'll go to front of house, and I'll sit there with all the people that are doing all the lasers and the visuals and everything. And I just sit there and I'm just like, I watch it. Every time I see the Gouryella show, it's like when people come up and try and talk to me, Marcus, I'm like, leave me alone. It's like, I'm really like into this. So I think that the entire Gouryella show is an art experience, and it's nothing like we see in the industry nowadays.
The whole Gouryella show is sort of it's really unique to him. I don't think anyone else can do a set like that. It has sort of a classical trance feeling. It's just the chords in it are just very expressive. It's not just, it's very unique. It's very easy to spot the Gouryella track. So the whole set had that feeling from start to finish.
I attended the first Gouryella show he did. I was playing also the same night in Atlantis in Australia. Yes. I was blown away, by the way. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I felt like I'm back 10 years or 15 years back in time, completely amazing. I was like, that's the good stuff.
It's hard for me to really know what's going on outside of what we do because it's so all-encompassing. What I have noticed is that elements of old trance music seem to be more exciting to people than maybe they were a little while ago.
I think it's very good that what's happening in the trance scene right now is that there's a lot more attention to it. I think some people are tired of the EDM sound, and a lot of people are moving back or rediscovering trance. Trance has never really been gone. I mean, I've been doing a radio show for 16 years, seeing the evolution. I think right now the sound of trance is very good, at a very good point.
A lot of people are speaking about this, like sometime a while ago, like saying trance is dead, trance is dying, trance is not cool anymore, blah, 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 and so on. But to be honest, for me, like for Ali and Fila, I've never seen it dead, or I play every week, different places. It's always amazing, full house.
Well, I think that trance really never went away. But that being said, I think trance was tarnished for a while.
Honestly, we think a lot of the EDM tracks that 2, 3, 4 years ago were so big, they were based on trance.
You look what's going on in Britain with, you know, the upswing in trance music, and it's started, again, we've seen it here from the last summer in America with our popular Dreamstate and a few of the other big trance events.
I don't know if it ever left. It's hard to see it that way. I guess for promoters or maybe the audience, they see things like that, but I don't see things like that. I'm just in the studio making music. It takes on different influences as it goes along, but I feel like trance is always a really solid genre of music, just like house music is.
I was at the Ferry's show last night at Panama, and we were all backstage. It was me, Ferry, ATB, Paul Oakenfold, Cosmic Gate, and we were all there. And I was like, wow, you know what? It had been a long time since I had seen, you know, personalities like this all in a room and all just laughing and joking and generally like really loving where everybody was at the time. You know, there was no egos in the room. It just, like I said, right now, I think that it just feels like the innocence in the music is back, and it just feels great again.
I think what's happening right now, anybody will tell you that the love you feel on trance events is more than you feel on other normal dance events. I'm not trying to pat anybody on the back for that or something. It's just like, it's such an honor and a pleasure to play for people that really do appreciate what you do. You know, if you put so much time and effort into your music and you see that love coming back, it's just, sometimes, you know, it makes me emotional to see these people crying on your music, and, you know, for a lot of people, it's really changed their life.
are made in the insides of stars. Our planet, our society, and we ourselves are built of star.
What does Ferry mean to us? Well, he's out there longer than we are. There's not too many. So yeah, he was basically someone that we started looking up to, and meanwhile, I think we can say we're good friends. We got just our collaboration track out together. So yeah, he's just a very, very influential person for us for basically 20 years now, which is a crazy number.
He's a legend, and like he's one of the people who started all this.
Ferry is an amazing guy. Anybody would tell you that. Extremely popular, massively popular in the UK, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, and even now. He's always very good with his fans. He actually taught me how to treat your fans,
I can honestly say, I've been around Ferry now, even before the new World Punx, for a long time. And I've said this before, and he is one of the most brilliant minds that I have ever met in the music industry. Working together in the studio with him is just amazing. He inspires me. Ferry's one of those guys that he hears the music, he hears the melody, he hears it all in his head before he even touches the keyboard. He hears it all already. And it's really interesting to see him work, because it's almost like if you could just put a USB port in his head and plug it into the computer, it's like the track's already finished, It's like he envisions it already, and it's really rare to see somebody who envisions it so clearly and at the same time is able to, kind of put pen to paper in a way,
Yeah, he's got so many aliases. Like if you look over on Discogs, how many aliases Ferry has got, it's actually insane. He's responsible for so many big tracks, so many big trance tracks.
I think his integrity is an example to everybody in dance music.
His music is living until now, and everyone knows what he did for the scene. So, full respect to him.
Ferry and I first met, I actually commissioned the Barber's Adagio remix for William Orbit when I was working at Warner's back in the day. And so we had a number of interactions then, very, obviously businesslike at that time. And after that, and even till today, when, I just walked in, I'd say Ferry is one of our closest friends in the dance community. He's always been a real gentleman. He was there when we did our first DJ gig in Japan in 2001, and has always been gracious and helpful and just charming. And I think it's lovely to see somebody who has real talent and has managed to stick to his guns the way that Ferry has over the years, and is still very successful. And it's great for all of us really to see that example.
Ferry's an important part of the trance community and is one of our pioneers. And he's always trying to push things forward.
He really helped me in the beginning of my career. We created quite a few tracks together that did really well. Most notably, Exhale Brute. Those tracks are still playing in my set.
He's really down to earth and really friendly, close to the artist. And I had the experience to be in the studio with him. I learned a lot. And I'm really grateful because nothing about the things that are happening around me never would happen if Ferry Corsten didn't support me.
solely and completely to sound. Sound is the factor which holds it together. Sound is the basis of form and shape.
The sound of Ferry Corsten is very recognizable. From the drum kits, from the instruments he uses. He has his trademark and you know it. You know this is Ferry Corsten, you know this is Gouryella. It's very recognizable, which is a good thing.
When I'm working on a Gouryella track, ever since back in the day, you know, it's such a melody-driven record, so that's the main thing. So, you know, it could take a few minutes or like a few days, but I need to have the melody first. The melody and the chords, that's, you know, if I don't have that, I can start with the beats all I want, but it will never get that feeling.
You know, I describe the Gouryella sound as the purest form of emotional melodic trance. I mean, really, it was at the forefront of it all when Gouryella first came about. It was the kind of music you just stopped and you just listened to and said, wow, you know, because everything, the melody is so emotional, so, you know, there's not only just the melody, but just how it was all put together. As a student of music, you just listened to it as well and said, wow, how'd they come up with this, you know?
For me, Gouryella is trance. It's feeling, emotion, euphoria.
I don't know, like trance in the purest form from back then, like super emotional, a lot of times melancholic.
Gouryella, and to a lesser degree, Out of the Blue, kind of defined the apex of a certain kind of trance that I was really into at the end of the 90s.
It's melodic, it's instrumental, it's uplifting. It's very close to my heart. That's something I really love.
Well, I remember I was doing the radio show the week it came in, and there was a little bit of trepidation when I saw, Gouryella, and then I was like, okay, this needs to be good, because, if you're going to resurrect something that was as important as Gouryella, it has to be good. I can't remember exactly what I said when I made it Record of the Week, but I said something like, if you're going to come back with Gouryella, it better be good, and this is better than that.
Good melodies are always timeless. Whether it's classical music, trance music, house music, it doesn't really matter.
People were longing. We felt people were longing for that emotional, touching trance again. So it was the perfect moment to bring this kind of trance back. And as we like what he did, he just didn't do it exactly as back then. No, he did it in a new, updated version.
It does definitely have that Gouryella sound to it, but it's just produced in a more modern way. It's cleaner, it's louder, but it still has that same feeling.
I just looked at him and I just hugged him. And it was I was so proud, I was so proud to be able to say, this is my friend Ferry, because I knew the first time I heard it, I really did. The first time I heard Anahera, I said, wow, this is gonna change people's lives. This is gonna change things. Like I said, I was just so proud of Ferry during that moment. Well, always, but
It's an amazing track. Like I said, there was a bit of lack of this kind of direction in the trance genre, so it did a big impact. And a lot of people I think they were waiting to hear this kind of sound from Ferry again.
Anahera actually was voted the tune of the year in my radio show by the fans, so it's not something that I can control. It was considered the best track of that year. It was quite revolutionary, and it's just a melody that grabs you instantly.
Clearly, years have gone by and tempos have gone down a little bit, but I think it still managed to preserve the essence and the spirit of Gouryella, and I thought it was a great tune.
My favorite part of the Gouryella show, obviously the intro, when that bass line kicks in, that famous, Gouryella bass line kicks in and you just goosebumps. But for me, my most favorite part is when it goes, into Neba and those keys from Neba come in. You just feel like something is right. You know what I mean? It's like with all the shit that's going on out there, when you hear the melody, for me, from Neba in the Gouryella show, everything feels right again.
I think, that sound has sort of never really gone away, but I think people have been experimenting with things that are maybe more kind of block-like in terms of the riffs that we've been using. And I think, the kind of arpeggiated riff, which is really what, for me, Gouryella and System F perfected, seems to be creeping back. And I'm happy about that because it feels, it just feels quite fresh. I think we've had enough time. 17 years is enough time off.
I don't think Gouryella is going to end. It's going to be a project that will return every year with another single. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be doing this show, but Gouryella is going to continue. And yeah, what's after Gouryella? I mean, I'm working on it right now, and it's yeah, it's where, let's basically say it, where if this is Gouryella, this will go there.